Patricia Wick of Carrington, North Dakota, a child care provider charged with murdering a child in her care, has taken a plea deal just before her jury trial was scheduled to begin. She pled guilty to murder, child abuse, and operating a child care center without a license. She's received a sentence of 20 years in prison and 10 years probation. For detailed background on all this, here's our reporting from September of 2022.
Now, this is the entire affidavit of probable cause alleging what happened, written by Carrington Chief of Police Christopher Pittman. Quote, on September 26, 2022 at approximately 1:50 p.m., the chief responded to 438 2nd Street South in Carrington for a medical call. State radio advised that an infant was unresponsive and CPR was in progress. I arrived on scene at approximately 1:54 p.m. I knocked on the front door and was let in by a female. I saw another female conducting CPR in a small child. I took over CPR of the small child. I saw that the ambulance arrived and ran outside to the ambulance while holding the child. I continued CPR in the ambulance all the way to CHI Medical Center. I administered CPR by using my index and middle finger, which is the protocol for a child of that size. I used enough force to compress the diaphragm in the middle of the infant's chest. Once at CHI Carrington, I brought the child into the emergency room where the hospital staff took over. The infant was identified born in 2022. Around 4:15 p.m. that afternoon, I was advised that the child had been taken to Sanford Medical Center in Fargo via life flight. On September 27th, I spoke with social services out of Jamestown, and she emailed Child Protective Services Intake Form 960, consisting of a medical record from the Sanford Medical Center in reference to the 5-month-old baby. In the medical record, a social worker wrote, quote, the infant has clearly suffered traumatic head injury and subsequently had a cardiac arrest with likely anoxic brain injury. The doctor stated to the social worker that based on the injuries observed on the infant would immediately be symptomatic. On September 27th, an agent and I, the police chief, went and spoke with Patricia Wick. Wick is the daycare provider and owner. They all went into her house. I asked Patricia what happened on September 26th. Patricia stated both of the boys were sleeping. Another child was in the playpen, and the victim was on my bed. Patricia said that she had just fed the victim and laid him down. Patricia said the victim had only been sleeping about 10 to 15 minutes at a time. She said the victim woke the other child up as well. Patricia grabbed the victim and laid the victim on a blanket. Patricia then went and got another child and sat him at the kids' table, got his bib on, and warmed his plate of food up. Patricia said she started to hear the victim coughing. Patricia went into the living room and saw the victim vomiting. Patricia rolled the victim on his side, and Patricia said the victim just wasn't there. Patricia said she picked him up, whacked his butt, and back to try and get a response from him. Patricia said the victim then took a big gasp of air, and she felt his chest, and she felt the victim was breathing. Patricia said she called the victim's mother, and that was it. Patricia said she then called 911. Patricia said the victim had arrived at the daycare around 7:50 a.m. and comes every day around that time. Patricia said she did not see anything wrong with the victim the morning he got dropped off. Patricia did state the victim was new to the daycare and she was getting him settled in. On the evening of September 27th, this is 2022, agent, social worker, and police chief interviewed Patricia Wick at the Carrington Police Station. During the interview, Patricia Wick acknowledged she may have put the victim down too hard and that she was not gentle with him and that she was frustrated with the victim that day. During the September 27th, 2022 interview, Patricia Wick advised that another person had broken his arm in her care. Patricia indicated that he had fallen off a swing in her backyard approximately 2 weeks prior to the incident with the victim. On September 27th, the agent, social worker, and police chief interviewed the mother of the child who had a broken arm. She reported that her child had broken his arm while in the care of Patricia Wick by falling off the swing set. She reported that Patricia Wick did not contact either her or her husband when the injury occurred. Patricia Wick advised at pickup of the child that he had fallen off the swing set and was faking his level of injury. She reported that you could see the child had been crying as his face was tear-stained and dirty. The child was taken to the emergency room where it was determined that he had broken his arm. Patricia Wick would have never inquired as to the child's well-being after that. On September 28, 2022, a search warrant was executed on the home of Patricia Wick. Photographs were taken of the play equipment in her backyard. The swing set was not secured to the ground and could lift while in use. On September 28th, the victim of the initial charges died as a result of his injuries. The complaint goes on to state Patricia Wick ran an unlicensed daycare in Carrington. She provided care of other people's children in exchange for money. Patricia Wick cared for between 4 and 9 children, 2 of which were under 24 months during the month of September of 2022. On January 28th of 2023, the results of the autopsy of the victim were provided to the Carrington Police Department and stated the victim has died as a result of complications from blunt force head and neck trauma. Manner of death was determined to be homicide, unquote. That's from the affidavit of probable cause.
Again, Patricia Wick now sentenced to 20 years in prison. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.